Welcome back. Last time we discussed Hadith, and now we want to discuss the Sunnah. After the Quran, the most important guide for Islamic behavior is the Sunnah, the doings or won'ts, W-O-N-T-S, a beautiful English word we don't use much anymore, of the Prophet. The position that the Prophet occupies in the life of a Muslim is hard to understand for a non-Muslim, although it's a principle in all religions that the founder is considered by the followers to possess all the virtues to which the people of that religion could possibly aspire. The Quran says that in the Prophet, God has placed the perfect example for Muslims, and it is his example in all things that Muslims try to follow. The Sunnah of the Prophet means how he did things, how he ate, how he walked, how he slept, how he judged men, how he spoke, and so on. These are traditions of the Prophet, part of a vast body of practices, of doings, which go from the most sublime metaphysical doctrines to everyday habits. Prophetic medicine at Tib al-Nabawi is based upon parts of the Sunnah. Regarding the relation between Hadith and Sunnah, sayings are part of one's doings, because speech is also a human action. So technically, although the Hadith is part of the Sunnah, it does not exhaust the Sunnah. I'd like to elucidate a very, very important principle here. In every religion that has come into the world, every action and event in the life of the Prophet is not only significant because it was part of his life, but it has significance beyond itself, that is, a kind of trans-historical reality that can be recounted over and over again. For example, when the Prophet of Islam was in the cave at Thawr with Abu Bakr, the cave is not only a place in the mountain, it is also the symbol of the human heart. It is the place of refuge from the storms of life. The hollowness of the heart was symbolized by the cave. Now, the heart is where God resides. The Prophet said, قَلْبَ الْمُؤْمِنِ عَرْشُ الرَّحْمَنِ. The heart of the faithful is the throne of God as the merciful. So the heart is also where the divine throne resides. Now the migration of the Prophet from Mecca to Medina and his taking refuge in the cave at Thawr is not only a historical event, but it is also a spiritual event, which every real migration must follow. Our real migration is life itself. Life is a migration. We are all immigrants. Our home is not this world, because we die. Everything is impermanent. Now, in this journey of life, he or she who takes the real journey, which is the journey towards God, and just doesn't drift along with the material forces around us, has to take refuge at one time or another in the Thawr, that is, in the cave, in the heart, because there is where God resides. You take refuge in the heart. And this became actually a very, very important prototype for spiritual practice. Jalaluddin Rumi, perhaps the greatest of all Muslim mystical poets, recapitulates this story in a very famous Persian poem. He says, "Consider this breast as containing the cave, the place of retreat of the friend," with a capital F, because recall from our reading that the Prophet told Abu Bakr, "There's a third with us, since God is present." If you are the real friend of God, then enter into the heart. Enter into the cave. In this one poem is contained the whole of spiritual realization in Islam. Just this one poem, if you really understand what the poem is. I just give you that as an example because the Sunnah and every event in the life of the Prophet, as with the life of the founder of every religion, is trans-historical. Before closing our discussion of Hadith and Sunnah, I would like to bring to your attention the special category of sacred sayings in the Hadith, called Hadith Qudsi, in which God speaks in the first person. There are not many of these, and every one of them has to do with the spiritual and intellectual aspects of Islam, with the teaching of wisdom. They address questions such as why did God create the world, the interrelationship between man and God, and so forth, providing answers for those who are seeking the deepest meanings of human life. These questions are asked by the most intelligent of people, and if they don't find the answers within the religion, they can fall out of religion, and then the whole religion has cracks in its walls, so to speak. These sayings, in fact, along with certain verses from the Quran, form the basis of Islamic spiritual life and Sufism, the inner dimension of Islam, to which we'll soon turn. This concludes this segment on the Sunnah and Hadith, the collection and chains of transmission of the latter, and the Hadith Qudsi. Next time, we'll begin our discussion of Sharia, Islamic law.